So after UFC 319, Khamzat Chimaev is now the new UFC middleweight champion of the world. We all knew Khamzat Chimaev, well, most people, including me, all knew he was going to be a UFC champion one day. He now has an incredible record of 15 wins, no losses, and is 9-0 in the UFC now. So going before the fight, Khamzat Chimaev was the favourite, whilst Dricus du Plessis was the underdog. I'm not sure if these are the correct odds, but I'm pretty sure they are near around there. Of course, the main idea was that Khamzat Chimaev would either win the fight by winning in the first round by submission, or Dricus du Plessis would win the fight going into the later stages, into the, let's say, championship rounds, as everyone really thinks that Khamzat Chimaev doesn't really have the cardio to go into the later rounds and uses all his energy in the first. However, of course, we was all wrong. Before the fight actually happened, I did predict Khamzat Chimaev to win the fight. And I mean, I went on social media a lot throughout the fight week, especially on Twitter, and a lot of people had bet on Dricus du Plessis to win the fight. So yeah, a lot of people had him winning the fight, but yeah, of course, that did not happen in the end, and a lot of people did lose their money. So going back to the fight, when the fight actually started, Chimaev took down DDP within 2 seconds. I didn't think it was going to be that easy, but it was for Chimaev, and he took him down and kept him on the ground for the whole round. Of course, Chimaev did transition to a crucifix position, which he did a lot of times throughout the fight, more than once. And Dricus du Plessis just could not get out of it. And with this, he was just landing short strikes and just staying tight, really. The second round again was complete domination by Khamzat Chimaev, having secured the takedown in the first 7 seconds of the round again. And just Dricus du Plessis just could not defend it. And again, there was over 4 minutes of ground control time. So what he did was re-establish the top control, drag du Plessis to the mat, and then whilst maintaining the tight waist lock, as said it below here, he just kept landing repeated knees to the legs, and that's just how the round carried out throughout the whole 5 minutes. So now we go on to the third round. So Dricus du Plessis is down by 2 rounds now. But in the third, again, it was even more dominant, and all 3 judges gave it 10-8 round for Khamzat. So the takedown was landing the first 10 seconds again. And again, just maintained over 4 minutes of ground control, maintaining dominant positions, including the crucifix again. So yeah, it was not looking like a really good night for Dricus du Plessis. And yeah, I mean, down by 3 rounds, with the third round being 10-8, I instantly knew then that Dricus du Plessis has definitely lost his belt. Unless he knocks out Khamzat Chimaev, he's lost his belt. But of course, I knew for sure that Khamzat Chimaev is not getting knocked out. So the fourth round starts, and Dricus du Plessis does do a very nice body kick to Chimaev. And then after that, of course, Chimaev attempted the takedown straight away from the kick. But of course, DDP did initially defend and spin away from this takedown. And this was the first time he had defended the actual takedown. However, once Dricus du Plessis did defend the takedown, Khamzat Chimaev just completely stayed persistent trying to get the takedown, then pressing Dricus du Plessis against the fence while kneeing him. And again, nearly up to 4 minutes ground control time. He also did put Dricus du Plessis in the crucifix position again, with a knee pin to DDP's arm. So yeah, it had been multiple times that Khamzat Chimaev throughout the match had Dricus du Plessis in the crucifix position. And yeah, at this point, it was generally certain that Khamzat Chimaev had won the bout. So of course, we are on round 5 now. Dricus du Plessis needs a finish. So Khamzat Chimaev just had early control and just worked from the crucifix and top positions straight away. It was just too easy for Chimaev until the very last minute. And this was where Dricus du Plessis scrambled and attempted a guillotine choke. He's probably his best offence of the night, but Chimaev did escape quite calmly, to be honest. And that was it. That was the end of the fight. So looking back on the fight, Khamzat Chimaev had 21 minutes, 40 seconds of ground control, which is unbelievable. Probably the most dominant, best win over a UFC champion we've actually ever seen realistically. Even looking at the total strikes, 510 to 56 is crazy. Though you could say Khamzat Chimaev only had 23 significant strikes, whilst Dricus du Plessis had 9. Of course, 12 takedowns is insane. And submission attempts 1 to Dricus du Plessis. It would be nice to have seen Chimaev be more eager to get the finish. But I mean, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Khamzat Chimaev absolutely dominated Dricus du Plessis and possibly made it one of the most dominant performances we've seen in a UFC octagon. So after the fight, there was a lot of talk, and of course, people did not like that match. They said, of course, Khamzat Chimaev was a completely boring fighter, just wrestling with Dricus du Plessis, landing shots that didn't do any damage. And to be honest, I think that's also Dricus du Plessis' fault. You know, he didn't defend a single takedown apart from one. And, you know, he just got completely dominated for all 5 rounds. And I didn't expect this from a high-level fighter such as Dricus du Plessis. But it honestly was one of his worst performances. And just a very bad performance in general. You can't just say Khamzat Chimaev is boring when Dricus du Plessis had no answers for the crucifix, could not get up from a single takedown. So yeah, of course, Dricus du Plessis will probably overcome the holes in his game that's just been, well, shown, and will probably come back stronger than last time. Of course, he's still a warrior, you know. He stayed 5 rounds. He didn't get finished. He still never gave up, and in the last round, as you saw, he still tried to go for the guillotine choke. So he's still a warrior in my eyes, and you could tell why he was the true champion before. But yeah, looking at the overall scorecard, every judge had it as 50-44. You know, round 3 was a 10-8 round. But yeah, I mean, it's insane because if it went to decision, I wouldn't expect it to be 50-44. Like, that's insane. Dricus didn't win a single round. Though I'm a little surprised it went to decision. I ultimately had it finished in the first or second round if Khamzat won. And if it went to the later stages, Dricus winning by decision. But yeah, I did not expect a decision win by Khamzat Chimaev. But yeah, nevertheless, it was a great performance by Khamzat Chimaev. And yeah, I hope he stays active, you know. Though he did say he wanted to make a quick turnaround for UFC 321, which is on October 25th. He said, we'll see what they say. No injuries, thank God I'm ready. And of course, Dana White did say he would consider it. But of course, as we know, there was quite a lot of concerns saying that if Chimaev became champion, would he actually be active? As he has had 3 fights in the last 3 years, and the last time he was like proper active and had more than 1 fight was in 2022 against Gilbert Burns and then Kevin Holland. So yes, that is a big concern, to be honest. And I do think now that Khamzat Chimaev is champion, I feel like he will fight more than once a year. Well, hopefully he does, because of course you would want to see the bout defended twice a year than once. But yeah, looking at those last 3 wins and in general, like, he's got a really, really good resume. Dricus du Plessis, Usman and Whittaker are all huge names, and even Burns as well, back in that time. So yeah, I mean, it's a really good resume. Before I move on, I just realised, what on earth was Mark Goddard doing? He stood both fighters twice, I think in round 4 and 5. But yes, this was something that shouldn't have happened. Mark Goddard should not have stood up both fighters. Of course, many other fighters such as Demetrius Johnson and Robert Whittaker did criticise this decision, as it really did unfairly benefit Dricus du Plessis, and Khamzat Chimaev was in a dominant position then as well. So yes, it shouldn't have happened. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev got the takedown straight away afterwards anyway, but yeah, it should not have happened overall. Of course, when Chimaev said he was going to fight in October and make a comeback to UFC 321, I thought he would be fighting Renier de Ridder, as Imavov and Barallo are going to be fighting September, and obviously that's a short turnaround to fight for the bout straight away. So I thought it would be Defo de Ridder. And if I'm being honest with you, Renier de Ridder is probably the only best chance at beating Khamzat Chimaev, which is said by a lot of people, as he's a world-class grappler who's dangerous off his back. So he won't be neutralised by Chimaev's wrestling like most of the contenders. But personally, I still think Chimaev wins. I don't think anyone beats Chimaev in the middleweight division, and I feel like by the time he's finished, he would have probably passed Israel Adesanya as the second best middleweight. Of course, that's not happening in October, as de Ridder is now fighting Anthony Hernandez in October, which is a very good fight. I don't really know who to pick to win that one, to be honest. But yeah, that fight being booked and the Imavov fight as well means that Khamzat Chimaev most likely will come back next year now and will not fight again this year. So overall, looking at the potential opponents that Khamzat Chimaev might verse, I don't think any of these beat Khamzat Chimaev. I'm not going to lie to you. I really don't. And I know a lot of people would say that as well. But yeah, I mean, whoever gets the next title shot, it depends on the way they finish the fight. Of course, if they get like a devastating knockout, they're going to be next to the title. But yeah, in my opinion, I feel like Renier de Ridder will be next for the title. I think he's going to beat Anthony Hernandez now, thinking of it, even though I wasn't too sure first. And I feel like he'll be next for the title shot, to be honest. And with the Imavov-Barallo fight, I think Imavov's going to win that fight as well. so he'll also be in sight to fight Khamzat Chimaev as well. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I really appreciate it. I will be back soon with another video on, of course, MMA. But yeah, thank you very much.